It's Boxing Day, that day of the year where everyone is hungover. The fridge is full of leftovers because, for some reason, we all convince ourselves that every member of our family requires their own banquet for Christmas dinner, and the only people out on the streets are those poor buggers who feel the need to brave the cold and the wet in the shops for things that they absolutely cannot wait one more day for. Don't you just love the aftermath of Christmas? Boxing Day for me as a kid was the best day of the year because it's when all of the visiting relatives is over with. We get to sit down and enjoy the gifts that we've been given on Christmas. Back when I was a kid, Christmas Day meant going to my grandparents' house, and that's where we would all hang out as a family all day. And we were only allowed to take one new toy with us every time that we went there. So Christmas Day was a case of one toy, and Boxing Day was when you got to enjoy everything. That was a proper Christmas for me. So it's just how it is, and now Boxing Day has a special place in my heart. Ah, memories. But that's not what we're here for, is it? Because it's Boxing Day, and on GameHammer Classic Gaming, here in the GameHammer Game Room, Boxing Day can only mean one thing. We've got to play a boxing game. And this term, we're going to have a look at 3D boxing on the Amstrad CPC. This was one of my dad's favourite games on the Amstrad CPC. He would play it all the time when I was a kid. Personally, I was more into martial arts, so if I had a choice, we would play Way of the Exploding Fist. And this was what my dad always wanted to play. Personally, it never really gelled with me that much. I mean, I played it, but never really gelled. So today, let's take another look at it. When you first load the game up, the first thing that hits you is the excellent title tune. It makes great use of the CPC's sound chip, and for such an early title, because this came out less than a year after the CPC 464 was first launched, the title track was far superior to a lot of the older tunes of the time. The second thing that hits you is that the title of the game is a complete lie. There is nothing 3D about this game. The sprites are very nicely drawn, I'll grant you that, and the game looks wonderful overall, but none of this can get away from the fact that this is an entirely 2D game with pre-drawn 2D sprites that don't scale as they go up and down the ring. The boxing ring is drawn in two-point perspective, and although it is fairly rudimentary, it does get the job done. The problem is that without sprite scaling, the things being depicted on the screen make no sense when you look at them for more than a few seconds. Are the boxes shrinking when they get nearer the camera, or is the ring built to fool you into thinking it's getting bigger as it comes toward you when it's really getting smaller? That's the only way to explain the boxes staying the same size no matter where they are. Speaking of the boxes, they are well drawn, and the large sprites are a delight to see on the CPC. It's often the case that you don't get a big sprite on a CPC, on a CPC, because that kind of thing happens to take a lot of CPU cycles to process. But yeah, they look really good here. They take up a decent amount of screen real estate, and the animations are pretty good, or at least good enough to get the job done. Your character can perform quite a variety of moves, all of which are pulled off by pressing the fire button at the same time as pushing a certain joystick direction, because the game appears to be joystick only, or at least I couldn't get anything to work on the keyboard. You can do head jabs, low jabs, block, uppercut, and a standard jab. There may be other moves as well, but I found it quite tricky to actually make a move work at first. It takes a little time to get used to the controls and their demand for precision timing in order to pull the moves off. You'll also need to be at the right distance from your opponent to make each move connect, so an uppercut requires you to be very close, while a lower jab needs a bit more space between you and the other boxer. As you can imagine, this means that an awful lot of skill is required to play this game well, and it's something that you do actually have to learn. My dad could beat pretty much every single opponent in the game back when he used to play this a lot on the family CPC, but I could never get past the second opponent on most days. Now I've come back to it for this review, I can't even get that far. The first guy keeps kicking my ass. I think this is because of the difference in recovery speeds between you and the other boxer. While you're both not punching 7 shades of crap out of each other, you will recover a little bit of your energy. In the top corners of the screen are the energy bars, which any fan of fighting games will be familiar with at this point. Getting hit depletes the bar, and the strength of the various moves in the game have different damage values when they connect, so there's a little bit of tactics here too. Sometimes you'll want to sacrifice a big damage move for being able to get in some quick jabs before your opponent makes you fall back to recover some strength of your own, while at the other times it's worth risking being hit a little bit more in order to land a high damage move and potentially get that knockout blow. The only problem is, you recover energy far slower than the other guy does, so while you're getting a little bit of your bar back, it's quite easy to see his bar filling back up at breakneck speed. This means a bout can easily switch from being a complete walkover to you getting knocked on your backside. Personally, I find that a bit frustrating. I realise I could get a bit better at this with practice, and there's certainly enough of a good game here to make that an enjoyable way to pass a few hours, but I can't help thinking it would be much better if I didn't have to. If instead of a super fast recovery, the other guy got his energy back at more of a reasonable speed compared to how I get my energy back, that would make it more of a fair game. It would make it a lot more enjoyable to play as well. At the end of the day, 3D Boxing is a classic sports title for the Amstrad CPC. It looks great, it moves at a fair, smooth pace, and the range of moves is a delight to see. There are a few downsides to the game, most of which could be solved fairly simply with a few tweaks, but when looked at as a whole package, there's a lot more good here than bad. I can certainly see why my dad used to enjoy playing it, and if you're a retro sports fan, I think you'll probably find enough here to enjoy it as well. But that's really all I've got time for today, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you had an excellent Christmas, and I'm wishing you all the best for a happy new year. I'll see you again tomorrow.